Hi, today I want to introduce the ACR7000 add-on instructions. I presume you've loaded Parker Motion Manager software and you have the Allen Bradley RS Logix software. First thing you'll need to do is download the ACR7000, unzip the AOIs. There's projects for the 4-axis for the controller, the 4-axis stepper, and then also the 4-axis servo, which is the V in the part numbering. And then open up Parker Motion Manager. I already have that open, so connect to the controller, go into the axes, select if you have a servo or a stepper for each axis, and then just go through the configuration wizard, select your units that you want to program in for all your distances that you'll be sending from the Allen Bradley PLC, and then set the drive and then the motor type. So these are all the servos, and then select your motor and do this for each axis. On the scaling, the screen allows you to configure your scaling in terms of how many motor turns per inch. If you have a gearbox, I just have a plain motor, so I'm just going to leave this as a 1-to-1 ratio. The fault screen allows you to assign inputs as the end of travels, so if you have those wired up, go ahead and enable those and select which inputs that you have those set in terms of your positive, your negative, and your home. These all need to be set if you're going to do a homing to reset the 0 position on each axis. And then you can also set the maximum position error for the servos, and then go ahead and do this for each axis. I've already done this, so I'm just going to go through. I'm going to jump ahead to memory. You don't need to change anything there, and then finish, and then download. I'm going to download everything, including the defines in the program. I don't need to make any changes. Those are already set up and configured. Then I would recommend going into the jog and the servo tuner. On servo axis, you'll need to tune each axis. Make sure you're getting good motion. On your stepper axes, you can just test those. Verify you've got motion, and then in the motion status panel, program 1 needs to be running, so you can just click run program 1, or if you cycle power, it'll be running automatically. Okay, onto the Allen Bradley software. Go to your PLC, add a new module, select the Ethernet module, you can name this ACR7000 or whatever you want. Default IP address for the 7000, or set that to whatever your controller is set for. 101, size of 100. 102 for the output, 100 for the size, 3, and 0. If your PLC is version 31 or newer, what you can do instead is import module and go to your folder, and you'll see the ACR7000 and import this, and that will set that automatically in terms of your data structure for the inputs and the outputs and the config. Okay. Next thing to do is import the add-on instructions. Right click. Unfortunately, you have to import these one at a time, so I'm going to speed up the video while I do this. Okay, so we have all of our AOIs now imported. We can go into our main routine. First thing that we need to do is take the ACR manager and set that. Create that. Create the controller. And then we should see the inputs come up as an option. And then the outputs. Alright. And this will be running as the very first rung. That'll still tell us if the enable input on the front of the 7000 is opened. The watchdog tells us if program 1 ever stops running on the 7000, which is what handles all the data exchange. And then as a summary, it'll tell us if the 4 axes are enabled or not. And then let's add a rung. Let's add a contact. Let's declare a bool. And then let's start by enabling the axes. I'm going to enable all 4 of my axes by setting these to 1. If I set those to 0, it won't enable it. And no errors. Okay, so let's test this. Now we're going to download mine. Go to run mode. look at the Parker Motion Manager. We're still running. My drives are not enabled right now. So now if I force this with a Control T, all 4 of my axes are enabled. We can see this in the ACR Manager just as a quick reference for all my axes, and you can see in the motion status panel in Parker Motion Manager that they are indeed enabled, or on the front of the product as well too. You should have a solid green light on each axis. Let's do some motion. So let's go offline. Let's do an interpolated move. Let's add a rung. Unnecessarily long, but it's just a demo. You can shorten it as you see fit. Don't forget to declare it. Function block interpolated move. Declare it. Point to your 7000. 1 is absolute, 0 is incremental. I'm going to do a velocity of 3 for our trajectory. For our position, let's set this to 10, 11, 12, 13, just to make it interesting. I'm not going to exclude these, so I'm going to set these all to 0. If I want any of them not to move, then just set it to 1 and it'll mask it. Okay. So let's download this and try it out. Looking in Parker Motion Manager, you can see 10, 11, 12, 13 is my position. That's where I commanded it to be. So that's a 4-axis interpolated move, all in one AOI. This will work for the 4-axis controller, stepper, or servo. If we want to stop the move in the middle of the move, we're going to kill the interpolated move. Let's go back to the AOIs. Declare it. Now it's already at the position and it's an absolute. So let's add another one. This is going to be my 0 move. So I'm going to declare this as my move 0. Let's do a little bit faster. And then download. Okay. So I'm going to start the 0 move back to 0. And then if I set the kill interpolated move, it will then stop. So you can see I didn't reach the 0 position, it stopped the move. And then if I restart it, it completes the move. I'm back to 0 on all my axes. Now, to read the position of the axes, or if they're enabled, there is, just like the IPA AOIs, there is the axis status. I mean, the manager tells us they're enabled, but let's say that we need to know where the position is. Let's go offline, add a rung. I'm just going to have these running all the time. Change the axes when you're copying and pasting, and then also be sure to declare them. Alright. So now you can see the actual position. There are RA tags in the controller. So you can see the actual position. Now these are raw counts, so just like in Parker Motion Manager, you're reading the full register, and then you need to divide the actual position by the axis scaling, which is the pulses per unit, to get the actual units in terms of inches. That way you don't have any rounding errors when you're passing data back and forth. But this gives us if the axis is enabled, if it's faulted, if you set a kill, or if it's tripped into a tracking error, the kill would be set. If it's moving, the moving bit is going to tell you if the axis is gearing, camming, jogging, or if the master for an interpolated move is being commanded. So all four of these are attached to the same master. If any of the axes are being commanded to move with an interpolated move, the moving bit will be set on all four. Okay, so we can do a jog move. So this will do a jog velocity move, which is just running continuously in the positive direction is 1, 0 is the negative direction, which looking at the motor shaft is either clockwise or counterclockwise respectively. And the cool thing about multi-axis is that you can do gearing and camming. It's going to follow my x-axis, my 0 axis. Let's set the ratio to 2. And then if I want to turn the gearing off, Okay, so if I start jogging my 0 axis, and then I can gear in my Y. And then if you look at the axis status position, you can see the Y is moving twice the distance that the X is. And then if I do a gear off, X is still jogging forward and the Y stops. Let's add a jog off. So this is a stop jog move. Let's add another rung. And add a contact. And we're going to cam Z. If I turn it on, I'll also want to be able to turn it off. I actually forgot, before I start camming, I need to reset the position of the X axis. I don't want it to enable the camming and then jump, because it's going to cam to the secondary set point of the 0 position. So we have multiple resets now for both the resetting the jog position, and we also have the set position, which resets the secondary set point position. x-axis was still jogging all this time. So first let's stop that from jogging. And then I'm going to reset its position. So you can see the actual position is now 0. 1 and 2 are both enabled and ready. So is the X. So I'm going to turn on the cam, turn on the gear, and then I'm going to start jogging the X. I'm looking at my actual motor and I can see my motors are turning and my Z-axis is rocking back and forth. If I look at my oscilloscope, so the orange line is the cam profile, and then you can see the X is just incrementing up. If we want to see the y-axis, which is gearing, its scale is twice as that of the yellow line. The slope is the same. Not as interesting as the cam. And if you want to change the cam profile, this is it's stored in program 8, so you can change that as your application needs. So 4-axis interpolated motion, gearing, camming, works with the controller, stepper, or the servo, all from the Allen Bradley PLC.